There's something you need to hear. You don't miss him. You miss who you were when you were with him. And that's why it hurts the way it does. Because when he left, or when you left, something didn't just end. Something in you collapsed. It feels like grief, but it's not only grief. It's identity withdrawal. You're not crying because of him. You're crying because you don't recognize yourself anymore. The version of you who laughed easier, the version of you who tried harder, the version of you who believed more. You keep replaying conversations in your head, not because you want him back, but because you want that version of yourself back. And that's the part no one talks about. After certain relationships, you don't just lose a person, you lose a version of yourself that only existed in that dynamic. And now you're standing here wondering, was that version real, or was she just trying to survive? You scroll through old photos, you look at your face, you notice the softness in your eyes back then. You ask yourself, was I happier, or was I just trying harder? That's the trap, because when you confuse missing someone with missing who you were around them, you start romanticizing what was actually draining you. And the scariest part, if you don't understand this, you'll go back, not because you love him, but because you don't know how to exist without that identity. And today, we're going to break that pattern, not gently, honestly, because if we don't fix this now, you'll keep rebuilding your life around men instead of rebuilding yourself. And that's where everything goes wrong. You don't actually miss him. You miss the role you were playing, the girlfriend, the wife, the one who waited, the one who forgave, the one who adjusted, the one who understood. When that role disappears, you don't just lose a person, you lose structure. Your mornings change, your evenings feel longer, your phone is quieter. But the hardest part, you don't know who you are without being needed. Because for a long time, being needed was your identity. You planned your days around him. You softened your tone around him. You shaped your reactions around his moods. You became hyper-aware. Is he distant today? Is he irritated? Is he cold? You learned how to regulate yourself based on him, and that becomes addictive. Not the man, the dynamic, the constant emotional calibration. Because when you're in that mode, you don't have to face yourself. You're busy monitoring him. But now he's gone, and suddenly there's silence. No one to adjust to, no one to fix, no one to anticipate. And that silence feels unbearable. So your brain does something dangerous. It rewrites history. It highlights the good moments, the rare warmth, the few times he chose you fully. It minimizes the anxiety, the walking on eggshells, the subtle self-abandonment. Because your nervous system isn't craving him, it's craving familiarity. And familiarity feels like safety, even when it wasn't. That's why you think, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe I should have tried harder. But ask yourself something uncomfortable. Were you relaxed in that relationship? Or were you performing stability? Did you feel chosen? Or were you constantly proving yourself? Did you feel free? Or did you feel slightly tense almost all the time? Be honest, because the version of you that you miss so much, she was often exhausted. She was trying. She was negotiating her needs. She was shrinking in small, invisible ways. And now, without the relationship, you feel empty, not because he completed you, but because you don't know who you are without adapting. That's the real withdrawal. It's not romantic. It's neurological. You built a personality around survival in that connection, and now survival mode has nowhere to go. So you feel lost. And when a woman feels lost, she often thinks she needs a man. But what she actually needs is to meet herself without performing. And that's where things start to get uncomfortable. Because if you're not adjusting, who are you? If you're not proving, what do you want? If no one is watching, how do you exist? This is where most women panic, because rebuilding yourself is harder than going back to something familiar. But if you go back, you won't just lose yourself again. You'll lose yourself faster and deeper. There's something most women don't want to admit. Sometimes you don't choose unavailable men by accident. You choose them because they feel familiar. Because deep down, love that is stable feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels unsafe. If you grew up earning attention, you will confuse tension with chemistry. If you learn to adjust early, you will mistake emotional distance for depth. If love once felt inconsistent, you will feel magnetized by inconsistency again. And here's the hard truth. Calm love can feel boring when your nervous system is used to chaos. No drama, no guessing, no emotional roller coaster. Your brain whispers, this doesn't feel intense enough. But intensity is not intimacy. Intensity is adrenaline. Intimacy is safety. And safety feels quiet, almost too quiet. So what happens? A woman who is used to earning love will unconsciously choose a man who makes her earn it again. Not because she enjoys suffering, but because her body recognizes the pattern. It knows how to survive there. It knows how to try harder, be softer, be better. It knows how to disappear in small doses. But when she meets someone stable, someone emotionally present, someone who doesn't withdraw, something strange happens. She feels exposed. Because now there is nothing to chase, nothing to fix, nothing to prove. And suddenly she has to show up without performance. That's terrifying. Because now the question isn't, why doesn't he choose me? The question becomes, can I stay visible without losing myself? This is the real turning point. Not when you stop loving him, but when you realize you are replaying something older. And if you don't interrupt it, you will repeat it with a different face, a different name, a different story, but the same emotional architecture. So the real work isn't finding a better man. It's rewiring what feels like love. And that takes courage, because it means choosing calm even when your body craves chaos. It means staying when you're not performing. It means allowing yourself to be seen without earning it. And that is a completely different kind of relationship. There is a moment every woman reaches eventually. It's quiet. No fight, no dramatic ending, no explosion. Just a realization. I am tired. Not tired of him, tired of shrinking. Tired of translating her needs into something smaller. Tired of pretending she doesn't need reassurance. Tired of acting strong when she feels alone. And this is where everything changes, because for the first time she stops asking, why doesn't he choose me? And starts asking, why do I keep choosing this? That shift is brutal because it removes the fantasy. It removes the villain. It removes the victim story. And suddenly, there's no one to blame. Just a pattern. Just a wound. Just a nervous system that learned to equate uncertainty with love. And here's the part no one romanticizes. Healing feels boring at first. There is no rush, no obsession, no dopamine spikes. There is calm. And calm feels empty when you've been surviving on emotional highs. But calm is where your real self lives. Not the performing self, not the pleasing self, not the adaptable self. The real one. The woman who doesn't negotiate her worth for attention. The woman who doesn't over-explain her feelings to avoid abandonment. The woman who can say, this doesn't feel good to me, and not panic afterwards. That woman doesn't arrive overnight. She is built, decision by decision, boundary by boundary, moment by moment when you choose self-respect over chemistry. And yes, you will feel lonely sometimes because breaking a pattern feels like breaking an addiction. You'll miss the intensity. You'll miss the emotional drama. You'll miss the chase. But slowly, your body recalibrates. Slowly, you stop confusing anxiety with passion. Slowly, love stops feeling like survival and starts feeling like choice. That is the difference, not who you date, but how you stay. And if you've been feeling this shift lately, if you've been questioning old dynamics, if you've been noticing how exhausted you are from trying to be enough, then maybe this is not loss. Maybe this is evolution, not into someone colder, but into someone whole. And wholeness doesn't beg to be chosen. It simply is. But there's one more uncomfortable truth. Even when a woman begins to choose differently, even when she stops chasing, even when she starts valuing herself, there is still one fear left. What if I'm too much when I stop being convenient? What if strength pushes love away? What if visibility costs connection? In the next episode, we're going to talk about the fear of being too much and why that fear keeps women small even after they wake up. Because sometimes the hardest part is not leaving chaos. It's surviving calm without shrinking. And that's where everything either expands or collapses.